All right, everybody. Hope you had a good week of trading. Let's run it down. First up is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is showing some weakness again. Stuck in this channel here. Hit that high of 107. Couldn't get through the channel. So now it's kind of bouncing around within this range. So keep an eye on that. We got the low of our range at 97 and the high of it at 107. Currently, today, Saturday, Sunday morning, and Bitcoin is sitting at about 102, so down around here somewhere. So we'll see what happens comes this evening, and how it opens up on Monday. But it looks like Bitcoin is showing a little more weakness going into this week coming up. So keep an eye on that. Next up is oil. And oil is trying to hang on in here. Ran into some support here at $71. Put in this nice hammer at the 150 simple moving average. So it looks like it wants to take off and maybe get back up into here and see what it can do. So keep an eye on that. It's got this resistance area here of around $75, so we need to get up above through that and retest this $77 around oil. So if you're short, you might want to consider shaving some of that off. Next up is gold, and gold is gonna finally got through that 2800 area, and it's coming back to retest for some support. Got our moving averages falling up behind, so look for some support in this area around 2800. And maybe take off, continue going higher if it can find some support in here and hold on. All right, around 2,800 on gold. So gold is still looking bullish. Next up is the natural gas, and natural gas may be finding some footing at around $2.85. Put in this little doji here, so keep an eye on that. Got overhead resistance at 315. So if we can't get through this and find some support, then look for support down here at 285. Got our trade winds coming up to help out with that support area, so keep an eye on that on natural gas. Natural gas is still in a bullish market, but showing lots of weakness. Next up, the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ put in a hammer at this resistance area, and has the moving averages coming up to act as support to 20, but the 8 and 9 are overhead as resistance. So if it opens up below that on Monday, look for a retest of this 2,983 area for support. If that doesn't hold, look out below. We still have our trade winds coming up to catch it, but it'll be back into this channel, and this may continue down in this channel if it falls back into it. Next up, we have silver, and silver is looking bullish. Put in nice 3 bars last week, 3 big bars. All right, ran into some resistance at this other area at $33. So maybe we'll get a 2-bar pullback and then head back up to retest it. If that doesn't work, it'll probably come back down into here, find some support down in here around. I give that about $31 or so, and then maybe go back to retest. But we got to get through this $33 area for silver to be bullish, or to be successful to move on to the next phase, which is retesting $35. But we got to get through 33 first. But right now, silver is still bullish and still looking pretty good. Next up is the Dow. And the Dow ran into some resistance at that 45,000 area. Look for some support at 44,452, and then retest and try to get through and get up above it. It needs to get through and above in order to continue on its bullish trend. Currently, the Dow is still bullish and trying to push higher. but we got a little bit of a dip, maybe a 2-bar pullback, and then through the top and then back down for some support, get some consolidation before heading higher. But Dow's still looking bullish. Next up is corn, and corn continues its pullback. Look for some support in here. It's getting into this little range here between 497 and what's that number? And 477. So we got 497 and 477. So look for maybe some consolidation in here before trying to retest this high. And that high should be wide because that's a new high. And that number is 497.50. Okay, so I get through that 497.50, retest for support, and then continue higher. But that's corn, still looking bullish. Next up is Apple, and Apple got hammered pretty hard because of its earnings. Didn't do so hot. Blaming it on China, could blame it on tariffs, could blame it on a lot of things, I think, but I think mostly right now is shit's getting expensive. Excuse my French, but without there's a lot of deals right now on iPhone, especially the 16 Plus, and you can probably get it through your carrier real cheap because they're trying to push them. My carrier is trying to give me one for like $300, so I just may jump on that deal. But my 14 Plus is working just as good. So anyhow, it took a hit. It may continue to take a hit with these tariffs and stuff. So we'll have to see what happens with Apple. Apple may continue to see some weakness as we go further into the year. And I think we're going to see a lot of weakness as we go further into the year because prices at the grocery store aren't getting any cheaper. Neither is the SMUD and PG&E. So, or the water or the garbage pickup, for that matter, which is really ridiculous. I pay a lot of money for garbage pickup, but better than piling up in the yard, right? Next up is AEM. And AEM made a new high at 95.38, and it looks really bullish at the moment. I think it may have ran into some resistance there at that number, 95.38. So look for a little pullback and then a retest. We know we got some indecision in here, and then it made it its mind and went on up. Put in this doji here, which this little area right here was our resistance area, now turned support, most likely. So we'll have to see how this works out. Does it come back down in here and then go back and retest to get through? Or does it look for more support further down here where it opened up this little bit of window? Alright, so be nimble on this one. It had a lot of indecision in this area, so I'm thinking this is going to be our support area in here somewhere. And then retest 95.38, get up above that, and then we're off to the races. But AEM is bullish at the moment. Next up is Affirm. And Affirm Holdings is trying to get out of this channel it was stuck in. Alright, made a nice 4-bar move up to retest this channel. Almost got through it, ran into some resistance here in this area. Alright, so which we know is a pretty strong resistance area because they got redirected quite a few times here. Support, almost broke through, and with the support it pushed up, couldn't get through the channel, so then it just broke down and gave up, and decided to try it down here to get some strength in, to get some momentum to go higher and at a lower price. So it got through our moving averages finally, and now it's retesting that area again. So we need to get up above through this area here. Alright, at $62. If we can get above that, retest for some support, which it tried here and here and here, and then we know we can continue higher with that. Alright, so, and then we come back up to retest at 73.54. So we have to see what happens with the firm in the next few days. It's got a ATR of $3.35, so that could happen quick. 62 to 73, so that should take about what, 3-4 days. Alright, next up is AGI. And AGI should be looking like our other one, AEM. Bunch of indecision bars. So look for some support in this area here. Come back, retest for support, and then continue higher to get above this 2145 area of resistance. And we know gold's looking bullish, so should Alamos Gold. Alright, so we got that high of 2145 there on that one. Alright. So that's our new high on Alamos. Okay. So look for some support back in around 20 bucks or so. If it wants to come back that far, 2050 maybe. And then a retest 2145. If we can get above that, it's off to the races. It's definitely looking bullish like the rest of the gold miners or gold stocks. Next up, AMD, and AMD is showing the same weakness as its counterpart. I don't know if I want to call it the counterpart to Apple, but AMD usually goes up when Apple goes up, and usually comes down when Apple comes down. Currently it's leading the way down, but it's got its earnings coming out here on the 4th of February, which is Tuesday. So we'll find out how bad they've been getting hit as well. But as we can see, it's been up here and now it's back down here. So it's dropped from 173 to 115 in the last few months or so. Let's see if we can see exactly how long it's been, for at least this past year though. So yeah, so it was all the way up to 227 back in 2024, March of 2024. So it's just been steadily selling off, and it's in the downtrending market, so it's rolling over. So it's in a bear market right now, AMD is, so we don't know where the bottom's going to be for this one because it's not as strong as the others. Alright. And as far as computers are concerned, I don't know if I'm going to be buying me another. I don't know if I'm going to Apple or if I'm going to be going to stick with this. I have an HP right now and it works pretty great, but Microsoft, is the Windows drivers for most of the PCs, and Microsoft is kind of a pain in the butt to deal with. I don't even like the way they, I could be using the Google Chrome, and then I go to Microsoft Internet, and everything that I looked for on Chrome is in the Microsoft Internet, and that doesn't sit well with me. I don't like that. I feel like they're spying on what I'm looking at somewhere else, even though it's on their operating system, so they should have some kind of vision to it, but I don't want my Internet Explorers co-mingling. If that makes any sense. Probably doesn't, but that's just me, and I don't like it. So Microsoft shouldn't do it. All right, next up is Amazon, and Amazon is still looking bullish. Finally got through that 233 area to find some support. Retested for support here, and it's trying to get higher. It's got earnings coming up also on the 6th of February, so that's next Thursday. All right, so keep an eye out on that. I think it's just be continuing to be bullish. Um, excuse me. Who doesn't like Amazon? Shoot, for a while they were getting a package a day from Amazon, so I don't see any reason to not suspect them to continue higher. All right. Next up is, but look for some. There were retests of the support area before continuing higher. It may have done it enough, but we'll have to find out come Monday. All right. One more test would be nice. That should get our 20-day up closer. Still got some distance between our 20 and our 150. That's quite a bit of distance there too, so be careful if this doesn't hold, because it may want to come back and check in with the mothership before continuing higher. All right, but no, on Amazon, most likely support here, continue higher, and maybe our moving averages will try to catch up, but it may have to come back in and drag them back up with it. But right now, looking bullish at around 233. Next up is ARK, and ARK is running into some trouble here at $63. Made a high of 64.72 before selling off, coming back into our moving averages here. It needs to get up, open up Monday, and push up and come back and close above this $63 area for it to be safe with this new high as a support, or a previous high as a support, and then maybe it can get through this new high. But it definitely needs to get up here somewhere. Alright, we got a lot of open windows down below, but currently ARK is ignoring them and doing this thing. So it's in a bullish market, so let's see what happens come Monday. Next up is Aircell, and Aircell is still trying to get into a bullish market. It's got these moving averages that are spread out quite a bit, and our 200 moving exponential is overhead resistance currently. Our 200 simple moving average, so we'll have to see our 200 simple moving average is below for support, and our 150 is even lower, so we need our 150 to pass up through our 200. We need our 200 moving exponential to get down here where it belongs. So everything is a little twisted on Aircell, so I'd be careful with that. And he put in a bunch of dojis in this area too, so if we open up Monday below this doji here, I think we're going to sell off and come down into here somewhere. And it has earnings coming up on March 6th. Alright, so keep an eye out for that. But be careful with this one with all these indecision bars going on right now. Okay, and it's still technically in a bearish market. Alright, next up is AWK, American Waterworks, and American Waterworks put in this big old bar and gave it back. Just like that. These moves are hard to deal with, so be careful with this one. It was in a bear market, so can't trust these bars in bear markets. Alright, I know it's you want to get in there because you see that bar and you think, man, that thing's ready to run. Normally, if it was a good company, a strong company, and American Waterworks is not it's not really a weak company at all. I mean, their earnings have been good every year. They make pretty good money. So It's just market manipulation as far as I'm concerned. So be careful with it. Till it gets above these moving averages and start looking bullish, it's still a sell. All right, so be careful. Um, got a 3 bar pullback. Did not break the low of this bar here, so may still be safe to play. Got this green bar that popped in right here on Friday. So if it opens up green, you might be able to buy it back up, but look out for this area at 128, area of resistance. So it needs to get up through that and close and find some support before going to try to get through these moving averages. All right, so keep an eye on that and be nimble with it, because you know, some people made some bucks right in here, and then it looked like they just said, okay, got what I wanted, bye, and dropped back out. And they caught it again down in here. All right, so that's American Waterworks in a bear market, so be careful. And but it looks like it wants to try to get bullish again. Okay, got a dividend coming out on February 7th, and earnings coming up on February 19th, and then a conference call on February 20th. So they're going to explain to you all the terrible things you need to know on the 20th. All right, next up is BITI, and BITI is still in this range. Right, so and it has this window to close up here at about $30. Okay, $29.87. All right, we know Bitcoin's looking weak right now, so it may want to retest this overhead resistance, close that window before coming back down, or it might want to get up and shut this window up here. So we have to wait and see what happens with that one, but we don't have to wait on the sidelines. All right, if we can get above this 20-day right here and on BITI, then we're going to come back and retest this 24.55 area. We got to get through it though in order and come back to retest for support before we can go back and retest this $28 area. All right, if we just blow right through it, then look for some weakness in here once it hit it, because we didn't find support before trying to go higher. All right, so that's the difference. We go up, find support, and go higher, then we know we can make it through. If we go up and just keep trying to blow through it, it's going to find some weakness in here somewhere because it doesn't have anything to stand on. All right, so keep an eye on that. But currently, with Bitcoin's weakness, if it continues to show weakness, then we know this is going to continue to go higher. All right, that's BITI. And that's a good way to trade short the Bitcoin. Yeah, it's better. All right. BITI. Next up is BOIL. Bloomberg Natural Gas ETF. And we know natural gas is showing a little bit of trying to go back higher, but it is definitely having some troubles. Okay, still in the bullish market. Put in this little doji here, so look for some support where it's at right now and maybe retest as it gets some consolidation under its belt and some sure-footedness. We'll see if it wants to go higher. Okay, and so Boyle should do the same thing. All right, get some support in here somewhere, and then go back up to retest as high of $80. Okay, so that's Boyle. Next up is Beyond Meat, and it's all in the name. All right. Bearish market consolidation. So look out. It can't seem to get through this area here. So I'll venture to say that it's most likely going to sell off here soon. Maybe as our moving averages get down lower again. How this is even a company, but and again, there's a lot of vegetarians out there, so this could be their substitute for where's the beef. All right, so look for that support area. If we can get up through this area here at $4, then the retest of $4.88 is next in line. If not, then we're going to come back down here and retest this $33 area. All right, so that's Beyond Meat. Next up is Cheesecake Factory. Cake. And Cake is doing it. Look at it. Didn't even think about coming back here and shutting that window. It was like, man, I ain't got time for that window. Anybody wants to, I gotta have my cake sitting in there, and my pies sitting in the window cooling. That's something they used to do back when it was okay to leave your window open. I crack myself up. All right, so that's Cheesecake Factory making a new high, and this is our previous high here, which should be support now. All right, and all this stuff down here is proven to be just noise, but we'll find out for sure as time flies. All right, but it run into some indecision bar here, hit that 56.55, got a little undecided. They may want to come back and check for some support before trying to get through this number. We'll have to see what happens when we open up on Monday. If we open up higher on Monday, we'll keep running until we just can't run anymore, and then we'll come back and try to find somewhere to put our feet. But right now it's flying high, and it's in a bullish market. So that's Cheesecake Factory. And Cheesecake Factory pays a dividend also, if you didn't know. All right. And you got the earnings call coming up on, if I can find it, February 19th. All right. So that's Cheesecake Factory, and it is bullish. Next up is Caterpillar. Caterpillar was looking like it wanted to just run, but it had its earnings. I think it didn't do so. Oh, it didn't do so bad on earnings. So I think we're just shutting these windows that it opened up on the way up, coming back down to shut them, and then we'll go back up and retest this 410 before coming back up and retesting this 418. Where it decides to plant its feet on the way up to that number, we'll find out for sure, because with all these open windows, it could just pick any footing it wants to make its ground floor. We just have to figure out which one it wants, but it definitely needs to. Let's see, that's 363, and that's 365. So yeah, that's a $2 open window there. That window's $2. So yeah, it's probably gonna come back down into here somewhere. Shut that window, and then it may just, you can put it in a long bar and shut it, and then all you'll have is just a tail. But we'll see what happens for sure. got our moving averages coming up for some support, so it is in a bullish market at this time, but we are closing windows. All right, but we opened up a big window here, so remember, if there's an open window, it needs to be reconciled. So that means we're going to be going back higher. We're just coming back down here to like I said, close those windows. We came back home to close the windows we left open. Now we can go back off on our vacation. Next up is CGC, Canopy Growth. And Canopy Growth is continuing to sell off. I didn't get a chance to. I like to look at those guys. What's the name of that? On YouTube, Miggy and what are their names? Oh shoot! I didn't mean to do that. Miggy and I'll find it. Anyway, there's a couple guys that do the Canopy News, or not Canopy News, but the marijuana news, and I like watching them. They're pretty good, and if I could find them, I would tell you their names. I can't think of their name right now. Anyway, let me quit rambling on because this gets long when I do that. Back to where we were. There we go. I don't even know if you can see any of that. I might have to cut that part out. Anyway, Canopy Growth continue to sell off. Earnings on February 7th in a down market, bear market. So that's Canopy Growth. Weed stocks are a disappointment right at the moment. Next up, Comcast, and Comcast was doing the thing, and then it broke down, but it did find some support around $32.50. But it put in this little fat doji right here, so we have to see what happens. It's in a bearish market, and most likely it's going to come back down in here to $29 before trying to retest this $36.30 area. But we'll see what happens with that. It had its earnings, and the earnings turned out, looks like they beat their earnings. So unless they had some other issues, it should be okay to long term. This one never really gone anywhere over time anyway. Comcast has always been bouncing around in a certain range. Let's see, let's go back 5 years. Yes, yeah, you see, so 61 and down here at 28, so now it's heading back to 28 again. So maybe it'll catch some support down here where it got it before at around 32. So we'll see what happens with Comcast, where it decides to find its footing. Then maybe we can ride it back up to 61. Maybe this time it'll go up through 61 and go a little bit higher. But yeah, Comcast has just been kind of bouncing around in this range for a while. Okay, so that's Comcast. So it's not a bad trade if you catch it down here at 28 and ride it back up to 61. You're talking about what, $40, $32 or something like that, whatever. So $32, that ain't nothing to sneeze at, right? So you buy your one, you can get you at least $32. Buy your two, what's that? $64. Buy your three, you got $96, and so on and so forth. So you do your own math. That's what all this is about, right? The math. Do the math. All right, and Comcast has an ATR of 96 cents. So how long would it take you to get to 61 from 30, let's say? Do the math. All right, next up is, let me change this back. Don't need all that. All right, so that's Comcast, and it's in the bear market, showing some weakness. Our moving averages overhead aren't really coming down yet, so still kind of flat. So it still could come back up into here, find some support at 36, and try to bust through these moving averages because they're still kind of flat. All right. Next up is Chipotle Mexican Grill, and Chipotle is still in this range. It was looking kind of bullish there for a minute, but You know, that don't mean nothing. It don't mean nothing till it gets up above and finds some support and then try to go higher. Okay, just like this one, rejection back down in here, up. Looks like it's getting rejected. We got our moving averages that might act as some support, but right now, this channel is the important thing, not these moving averages. And this is getting rejected at 58.97, so we'll have to see what happens if it comes back down in here to get some more support before going back up through here. So far we tested it 1, 2, maybe 3, 4 times the charm. Alright, so keep an eye on that. Earnings are coming up on Chipotle. Looks like February 4th. That would make it Tuesday. Alright, and we'll see what happens. It's stuck in the trade winds at the moment, but we know we got this overhead resistance at 58.97, and we got the support down here at 55.65. So buy low, sell high. Alright, so that's Chipotle. And we got Center Point Energy, and Center Point Energy is trying to hang in there. Got that overhead resistance at 33.50. A recent high of 33.12 is our resistance area currently, but we know we got that resistance up at 33.50. Looks like it's putting in some consolidation in this area here. Alright. So we can call that some support at the moment. Okay. So we got some support here at about $32. So we can consolidate and push up through. We need to get through 33.50 and come back and retest for support. Alright. But so far this area right now currently is looking like a support area at $32. And we have to wait and see what happens, but we definitely need to get up through 33.50. The Center Point Energy is bullish in a bullish market and showing strength. Next up is corn, and we know corn is bullish, so and it is respecting this area that acted as a resistance here, and it had to break through it, gap it up a little bit to get through, hit some resistance up here at 2019. Which is our new high. Alright. So in this little bit of a channel here currently. Alright, between $19 and $20. So this dollar channel, but corn is bullish at the moment. And we're waiting on our moving averages to roll around to confirm bullishness, but it is above all our major averages. So corn is bullish in a bullish market and most likely going to continue higher. Next up is Corsair Gaming, and what happened to my anyway, we'll find it. It's around here. It is Corsair Gaming, ticker symbol CARSR. Maybe I should put that in there. Ticker. Do it like that. Yeah? No? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I won't make it all caps like that. Yeah, that looks better. Alright. So that's Corsair. It's in this channel still. I kind of broke it up like that because this is where the kind of our quarters, 1, 2, 3. Midway point should be in here somewhere, but anyway, this is where it was finding some support and then finding some support here as it was hitting that. But yeah, that's just more noise for me than it is for you. But we definitely have this channel here. Sorry, this range that has been bouncing in between $8 and $9.63. All right, so keep an eye on that, Corsair. But it is in a bullish market somewhat. We need our 150 to get up above our 200s to confirm bullishness. And it definitely has to get through $9.63 in support and then continue higher for it to remain bullish. Okay, well that's Corsair, and it has earnings coming up on the 12th of February. So look out for that. Next up is Capital Southwest Corporation, and its ticker is CSWC. And I'll go through and do all the ticker stuff on later. Closed this window finally. Alright, so does it want to come up and get back through this area where it was a previous window that was open and retest this 23 area that was the recent high, 2364. We got to get through that, and then we can go back and retest the $24 area. But we know we have our moving averages coming down to act as resistance. We are in a bear market, and earnings is coming up on the 3rd of February, which is Monday, I believe. Yeah, Monday. So keep an eye on that. Capital Southwest Corp. Next up is DKL. And DKL had some nice little run for a minute there. Now it's running to some resistance at 45. Came down and broke through our 44.22 area, which was acting as some support, but no longer could do it. Now it's acting as resistance, so keep an eye on that. We may come back into the moving averages down here, find some support before trying to go back and retest this $44 area. But right now, it's still in a bullish market, but it's showing some weakness on the leak logistics. And it paid out a dividend here. It pays out its dividend on February 4th, so that could be the reason why we're getting a little bit of a sell-off. Alright. And it has earnings on February 25th. Okay, so next up is DRIP. And DRIP is our inverse to oil and gas. Alright, it needs to get through this $10.70 area, find some support, and retest the $12 area. Alright, but what did we say about oil? I think oil was looking like it was trying to find some footing, so we have to see what happens with this on Monday if it gets up through here and actually can do it, because I'm starting to wonder right now this is going to run to some weakness and get a little bit of a pullback, because oil is looking a little bit better. Alright, so let's see what happens with oil. If oil gets in a red bar or sells off into Monday, because it's starting to get into a bearish market as well, where moving average is rolling over. So if they can force it down into here, it may continue on through, and DRIP may continue higher. Alright, so that's DRIP, and it's getting back into this 50% of this move here between $12 and $9. Okay, we need to get above, find support, and retest. Alright, next up is Dust, and Dust is the gold miners bear ETF, and it's selling off and going into a bear market, which means what? Gold is going to continue going higher. Alright, so this could be your proof that gold's going to go higher. Keep an eye on this one. And then when this one starts to go up, we know what gold's going to do, right? Go down. Next up, Expand Energy. Ran into some trouble at 109. Now it's trying to find its footing at 101. If it doesn't hold, it's going to continue to sell off. It's going to come back down to probably blow through this little bar here and try to find some support back down here. But it could possibly find some support here. So keep an eye on that. We'll maybe keep this or take it out and see if this is our support area. But it has this window open up down here at around $89. So these may not even make any difference because it may be coming back to reconcile this open window, which it needed. And I think it may have another open window down here too. So that may be a lot more trouble than we want. Let's see, the last 2 years. So that was an old window that's been reconciled already. Oh wait, it had a window right here at 87. So yeah, that's one we already talked about. This down here, we don't really need. We get rid of that because that's just confusion. So we have this window here at 87 that needs to be reconciled. Okay. Let's reconcile this window, then we can go back and retest that $109 area. But until then, it's going to be a question mark. Alright, so that's Expand Energy. Next up is Fastly, and Fastly has a window open as well, so keep an eye on that. We don't know what it's going to want to do until it does reconcile that window. But currently, it looks like it wants to be bullish, but we have our moving averages that have to prove it, and right now they're not proving it. Right now they're down here and they're separated, and they can't even get their thing together yet. So keep an eye on Fastly. It may run into some trouble here. Looks like it's already run into some trouble at $10.97. So if it can't close above $11 and find some support at $10, and look out below. And it almost closed this window, but it got close. Let's see, the high here is 852. So I believe I had said that it had closed that window, but in a previous video. But now I'm looking at it, it looks like it got close. That low is 867. So it got close. I don't know if that was enough to make the difference or not. So let's see what happens. Maybe it might want to come back down here and completely shut that window before going higher. But yeah, I kind of missed that one. I apologize if I said that window was shut. It looked like it came back and closed it, but here's our window here, not this bar here. Alright, it's not this bar, it's this bar. And according to this bar, it never came back far enough to shut it. So that's Fastly. But we need our moving averages to get their thing together before we can be sure that we're bullish heading higher to retest this $12. It can go up and retest this $12, but this right here is going to be an issue for it. Alright, next up is Grayscale Bitcoin, and Grayscale Bitcoin is still flopping around in this channel or this range, and just like Bitcoin, stuck in the range and showing weakness. But it is still in a bullish market. Our moving averages are still coming higher, and at the only time will tell if it's going to want to break down through this $79 area and head lower, get back into this channel, or this channel, and head lower. But currently it's just in a trading back and forth in this range. So keep an eye on that, Grayscale Bitcoin. Next up is GameStop, and GameStop still showing weakness, but it does have the support area at 25.88. Moving averages are pushing down, but we got our trade winds coming up to act as a support. So look for some support around 25.88 ish. And then if we can get some support and some consolidation, maybe we'll head back up to retest that $34 area. But it's still bullish. And that's GameStop. And earnings for them is a long ways away. March 25th. Next up is Google. And Google, oops, let me do that. Alright, I think they have their earnings. Nope, their earnings is on the 4th, so next Tuesday, or this Tuesday coming up. I'm sorry. Left this window open down here. That needs to be reconciled, so keep an eye on Google. So far it's broke out of its channel. Didn't really find any support, just put one bar above. So I think it needs to come back and check in and make sure we got this is a good support area before going higher. But we need to find out where the overhead trouble is. 205.48 is where it got stopped at. So let's see what happens here on Monday, if we're going to come back, retest for support, and try to go up through this 205 area, or if it's just going to come back down and try to shut this window before going higher. Alright, keep an eye on that. We'll see what happens. And I think I said it, but I'll check it again. Earnings is on February 4th for Google. So Google's got, on February 4th, has got some good earnings coming up, I think. So it's going to be a pretty busy day on the 4th. And that's going to be on Tuesday. I don't know, this past week earnings I don't know how it was for you guys, but it was pretty dead for me. I couldn't find a play that I wanted to jump in for nothing. But I got some long-term runnings, so not really worried about a daily trade. But there are some times I like to jump in there and do a little day trading. But for the most part, on long-term. So that's Google. Next up is Gush, and Gush is selling off because we know oil was selling off, but we know we're going to find some support in here somewhere. Alright, so or we may find some support in here somewhere. We have to see how oil acts on Monday or this afternoon when the markets start moving again after 3:30 or 3 o'clock California time. Our majors will start moving on Thinkorswim anyway. We'll start getting some data after 3 p.m. So we'll see what happens with that. Excuse me. So anyway, Gush is looking for some support in here, putting this nice bar down, but couldn't push down much lower. Alright, and then closed at about 28.35. So we'll see how we open up on Monday, and then if we're going to push higher or continue to sell off. And gold would be, not gold, or oil will be our indicator for that one. Next up, Intel, and Intel continues to sell. In a down market, look for some support at around $18, and if $18 doesn't hold, look out 17 doesn't hold, look out 12. And earnings for them, they actually beat earnings, but I'm sure they had other issues. Intel hasn't been doing very good lately. Next up, JDST. Looks like it found some support down here at around $22. Well, $22.39, so $22.50 we'll say. in a bear market. So keep an eye on that. And important thing about this one is it is a bear ETF. So we know gold is going higher, so this continues lower. If this continues lower, we know what gold's going to do, right? That's right, go higher. So another indicator for us for the bullishness of gold. Next up, JILL, JILL, and JILL. It's gone into a bearish market. All right, we get another bar below this moving average, and it gets down below these 20. We know we're coming down lower. All right, but I believe Jill is gonna with this doji here. All right, we get another bar open up, heading down this way, and look for some support down around 25.67. If that doesn't hold, look out below. Next up is JNUG, and JNUG does not have any data. Next up is KGC, King Gros Gold Corp, and of course it's going higher because what? Gold is going higher. Oh, where's my clapper? Anyway, hey, if you haven't liked, subscribed, or hit the notification bell yet, what are you waiting for? How about hitting that like and subscribe? And then, I'm going to still make videos, whether you like it, subscribe or not, but it'll just help me out if you did. Alright, so anyway, look for some support at 1262, and Coles is, it's Coles. That's Coles. Next up is LABD, which is the Biotech Bear ETF, and the Biotech Bear ETF is in a bear market, which means the LABU, the Biotech Bull, is in a bullish market, but trapped in these trade winds. We need to get this to roll over and come on down and force that down so we know our biotech is bullish. And that brings us to LABU, the Biotech Bull. And the Biotech Bull is currently in a bullish, well, it's in a bear market still, but it's trying to look bullish, and it's got this overhead resistance coming overhead. So keep an eye on our biotech. That weakness in our biotech affects quite a few other stocks, and we'll get to one of them soon. Next up is LAC, Lithium Americas Corp, and lithium is not where the president wants to be at the moment, I guess, per se, maybe. I don't know for sure. I know, we're going to be making oil prices lower, but as far as the batteries, he's saying we're not going to be doing that battery madness either. He wants to keep the manufacturing of automobiles alive, and which means he wants to stay. Maybe we'll see more. Maybe we'll see more hybrids on the road. A little bit of mixture between gas and electric, but as far as all electric, I think they're thinking about even just getting away from just doing all electric. We'll see what happens with the lithium trade. But currently, right now, Lithium America Corp is looking for some support at around $2.90. If we can stay in this area, maybe we'll bounce around into this range until they decide what they want to do as far as electric vehicles are concerned. But currently it's in a bear market, so keep an eye. Well, not completely in a bear market, but it does look bearish. All right, so keep an eye on Lithium Americas Corp. Next up is Lake and Lakeland. Put in just enough to close that window, and now it's selling off again. So look for some support down here at around $22. If that doesn't happen, maybe our trade winds will hold it, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll bounce around in our winds for a little while and go back higher, or just continue to sell off and go bearish. But keep an eye on that. There is a support area down at around $20, so maybe we're coming down to $20 to look for some support. If that doesn't hold, look out below. Next up is Macy's, and Macy's is trying to get back up into that $16 area. It seems to be its happy spot. Put in a few bars in here, put in this doji here, but it opened up green and kept going up a little bit. So now it's running to some resistance again at $15.75. Plus it has this resistance at $15.99, so that doesn't really, we'll remove that one. Alright, so we need to get above that, test for support, get above the 16, and then test for support, and then run again and try to retest this $18 area. But yeah, that's Macy's, and it's bearish in a bear market, but it was trying to look bullish there for a minute, so we'll have to see what happens with that. If it wants to continue bullish, or if it wants to pull back, find some support, and then try to get through this overhead $16 area. But right now, Macy's is in a bear market looking bullish. Next up is Microsoft, and Microsoft dropped out the window. Alright, so it popped open and made a nice big window here. Microsoft dropped out, opened the window. Alright, opened the window at $440. Alright, came down here. The high there, 422.86. All right, so we know we have this area here, resistance, support. Alright, took a lot to get through it. Okay, pushed up, hit it, bounced up, didn't have enough, came back, found some support, gapped up again, came down, gapped down to get back down into here where this gap window, the bottom of that window. Okay, then came down, shut it. Then it pushed it really hard to get back up here, but then just couldn't do it again. Wasn't enough to get through 450. Came back, this 440 area couldn't hold, and so it broke down. Dropped all the way down here. Alright, so we know we got resistance support here, we got resistance support here, and now we got new resistance and support here. So we need to get back up through 422 to retest this 428. And it may take a lot to get through that. That area seems to be an area of interest here on the price of Microsoft. Alright, 428.29. Okay. But we do need to reconcile this window, so when it's ready to start going higher, I expect it to continue up at least to close this window before it's coming back down. If it decides to come back down. If it decides to continue higher, then we're going to retest 450, get up above, check for support, continue higher. But the most recent high is 456.16. Alright, so that's Microsoft. But currently it has opened up in a bear market, so keep an eye on that. Got earnings coming up on, not earnings, I'm sorry. It pays a dividend coming up on the 20th of February. So who knows? Maybe they're putting some money together to pay these dividends. And I think the dog is at the door. You gotta go potty? Yeah. All right. Let's take a quick break. Let the dog out. Be right back. All right. So Microsoft looking bearish at the moment. We opened up lower on Monday. Expected to continue lower. But remember, these guys can reverse course at any time they like. So be careful. Next up is MicroStrategy. And MicroStrategy is showing some weakness. Stuck in this range here between 379 and 286. But it's in a bullish market, but signs of bearish. Look for support at 286. If that doesn't hold, look for the trade winds to catch us at around 230. Got earnings coming up on the 5th. So it's going to be an exciting week this week. A lot of our big boys are going to be having their earnings. Netflix is coming up next, and Netflix is can't seem to get over that $1,000 mark. Got this window open that needs to be reconciled at around 900. So it's in a bullish market. And currently not looking so bad. Alright. But Netflix does need to reconcile this window, so maybe we'll get a pull back into here at some point before trying to retest and going higher. Alright. That's Netflix. Still bullish. Next up is NGD, New Gold Inc. And New Gold Inc. is ran into some resistance at $3.13. Did make a new high. Look for some support. Well, we closed above the previous high here. Right. So I did that wrong. Alright, so that's our goal there, is to close above that. Alright, previous high of 308. Alright, but we know gold is bullish, so just a matter of when it's going to find some support to push on through that and continue higher. Next up is NVIDIA. And NVIDIA is running into some trouble here. Opened up this window. Alright. I'm sorry, that's too much. Alright, that's better. Okay. And here's the bottom of our window. Which was a support area, turn resistance. Alright, it's got a new support area at 118, so we have to see what happens if 118 continues to hold. If not, then look out below. We do have earnings coming up on the 26th of February, so keep an eye on NVIDIA. We get it below this 118, then look out below. Next stop, 95. Alright. Next up, NWBO, Biotech. Put in a fat doji here. With big tails on both sides. So there's a war going on here. We have to see who wins on Monday. If it's going to continue to sell off and come back down here to 25 cents, or if it's going to continue to go up and try to get through these wins. Currently, they're acting as resistance, so we'll see what happens with NWBO. And we do know that the biotech stocks are showing some weakness at the moment, which are our LABD, Biotech Bear, right, and LABU, Biotech Bull. All right, so if we open up and go higher, then expect NWBO to go with the tide. All right, so that is our NWBO. Okay, so keep an eye on our bear and our bull in biotech, and that'll give you an idea what we're going to do here. Okay, so which, you know, the Alpha Trader talks about this one, and it sounds good, but you know, it still has to go with, you know, the regular market before the investors really jump in, because these things go in cycles. So, you know, they invest money in certain areas at certain times of the year. So, we'll see what happens with NWBO as we find out what happens with the other biotechs. All right, OSS, and OSS ran into some resistance at $3.77. Is in a bullish market, and all the bars are, you know, decently, you know, covered. You know, we go close that window, go higher, close the window, go higher, close the window, go higher. Run into some resistance at 433, go lower, close window, close window. This one didn't close, high of 375, low of 380, so that's a 5-cent window there. So that one didn't close, but it's overhead, so that's not a bad sign for you if you're trying to play the green. But it is running to some resistance at 377, so keep an eye on OSS, and OSS is One Stop Systems, and I'll try to remember to come through here and add that information there, but we're trying to get through this. Next up is Oxy, and Oxy is selling off because we know oil is selling off. Let me check on this dog real quick. We'll see what happens with that, because the president wants to drill, and if he drills, then we're going to have lots of oil, and lots of oil means saturation, and saturation means lower prices. All right, so that's Oxy. Next up, PLCE, Children's Place, and Children's Place is still bearish and getting even more bearish. Left the window open up here. That wasn't reconciled completely, so maybe at some point it wants to come back, shut that window. But currently it's in a bear market and continuing to look bearish. Next up is Qualcomm, and Qualcomm ran into some trouble at $176. So far has been trading within this range between 168 and 176. So we'll see what happened with that one. And it has its earnings coming up on the 5th, Wednesday. And we'll see if it's going to catapult higher or sell off and come back into here somewhere and before going higher. And it has a dividend payout on the 6th of March. All right, so that's Qualcomm, and currently in a negative zone. It's neither bullish nor bearish at the moment. All right, it was bearish for a while here, and it went back into this trade winds, and so now it's just kind of a negative zone. Trying to decide which way it's going to go. But currently 176 is a resistance area, so keep an eye on Qualcomm. if we continue to trade in this zone here, you know, we have to go on our test. One test up, or one test up, one test down, one test up. Maybe we get another test down, and then another test up. If we don't get through and find some support and continue higher, then the test down might be our breakdown even lower. So we'll have to see what happens with Qualcomm. But right now, trading in this range, looking to be bullish if it is fortunate. Next up, Rocket Lab, and Rocket Lab is still looking pretty good. It's got these resistance area, this zone here that it's been using for support lately. All right, made a new high of 33.34. Alright, so keep an eye on that. Okay, so we're finding some support. We're trading in this little range right now. For now, got some indecision bars here. Doesn't quite know what it wants to do. So we have to see what happens with these guys. We got our major moving averages way down here, and it does have a window open down here also. So Rocket Lab, keep an eye on that and see. Let's see what happens with it. Find some support at 27.34 and retest 33. So we might consolidate in this area before retesting and trying to go higher, or we might consolidate and go lower. But these indecision bars are almost making the decision for us that we may want to, decide which direction we're headed real soon. All right, but currently it's bullish. Next up, RTX. And RTX got a little window open here that it didn't reconcile, but it is in a bullish market. It is trusting its 8 and 9 SMAs. It did get through this previous high of 128 and make a new high of 132, but it has not confirmed it. Alright, this bar here is an indecision bar, and if we open up below it, then we may continue lower and reconcile this window being open before going back up to retest and going higher. Alright, but our next our Monday opening will be the decision on that one. And the earnings weren't too bad. Actually did good on its earnings as far as the dollar amount, but as far as the rest of it, I couldn't tell you. But it is still bullish by nature. And then it has the earnings or dividend payout on the, where'd it go? Come on, 21st of February. All right, so that is RTX, and still bullish. Next up is the Russell, and the Russell in a bullish market, finding some support at 22.85, and may want to go back and retest 24.66 at some point. But it is confirming the support area of 22.85 at the moment, so a real fat doji here. So we have to see how we open up Monday if we want to continue higher right away, or continue to consolidate in this area before heading higher. But definitely finding some support. currently. And then the inverse of the Russell, of course, is in a bear market because the Russell itself is looking bullish. The inverse of the Dow looking in a bear market because the Dow is looking bullish. And we got Sweet Green, and Sweet Green found its footing at $28 and pushed up, but it ran into the trade winds, which got it back up into this area of resistance at around $35. And now we got a 2-bar pullback into our moving averages, which is not bad looking at the moment. We may find some support on our 200 SMA. If we do, maybe we come back up and push up through here. So maybe we're going to have our push up, 2-bar pullback, and push up. We'll see what happens here on Monday when we open up. We got a $1.97 ATR, so it shouldn't take long to figure it out. All right, next up, SoFi. And SoFi ran into some trouble at $18.42, put in a window, gap down. So this area here where it made this recent high, all right, is an area of interest because of our gap that's down below it. All right, so there's a lot of resistance in this area. Okay, and now our moving averages are rolling over. So if we open up lower and look for it to come back down into around $14 for some support. And we don't, is this window high of 1301, low of 1301, so it shut that window. Alright, so that window got closed. So I don't see any other windows opened. What's this high here? 1409. So we do have a little window open here, about a 20-cent window here. So we may come back down and shut that before going higher, and this will be our support in here at $13. All right, so keep an eye on that, SoFi, but it is still bullish. Okay. All right. Next up is Block Inc., and there's no data for Block Inc. at the moment. The Sempra Energy, and it's still trading around. It's still stuck in the trade winds, trading back and forth, consolidating. So we just have to wait for the breakout and figure out which direction it wants to head in. But we know we have this range between $88 and $77 to work with. All right, actually it should be lower. It should be about $76 or $76.72 or whatever that is. But this was a previous support area, resistance area, so we're going to leave it until it proves us otherwise. All right, next up is T-Mobile US, and T-Mobile US is still looking bullish. Was bouncing around in this channel, and it popped up to check for support at the top of that range, and popped up to check for support at the top of that range, and it found it. Then it gapped up because there's some area of interest here, so we have a window opened that needs to be reconciled before continuing higher. All right, so that wants to be our new support area there. Okay, where the gap happened. All right, so we'll edit that on the right, make it gray, make it a number 3, and that high is 224.16. Okay, so that's our support area. That doesn't hold, and I'm looking for it to come back into 216. 216 doesn't hold, and back down to 209. And if you can, as you can see, we have our distance between the two, so that's about our 50% right there of this move here. All right, so that's T-Mobile US. Look for some support at 224, before a retest of this high here, and then a retest of our most recent high, or not most recent, but of our high of 248.15. Wrong color. Next up, Tesla. Wow, 5 years still, 3 months and a day. Why does it look so funky? Let's try to see if we can fix that. Trey, play it funky enough. It's funky. Yeah, it still looks funky. Anyway, it's Tesla, so in a bullish market, a lot of chatter down below. We got a new green, let's say support area. All right, made a new high of 488.54 before getting rejected. So we know we're gonna want to retest that. Maybe find some support down around 380 if it continues to sell off. All right, if that doesn't hold, then look for some support at around 359. If that doesn't hold, then we're coming back down into 298. All right. So that's Tesla looking a little, showing some weakness, but it's Tesla, so it's a winner long term. Next up is T-Tech, and they put in this weird bar here. I won't call it a weird bar. It's a wizard staff. No, I'm gonna call it the King's Scepter. Anyway. Now next to it is a doji, so we need to open up higher and continue to retest these areas. But that's T-Tech for now, and T-Tech is in a bearish market and may want to continue to sell. All right, but put in a nice bullish looking bar for now, but we'll see what happens as the moving averages roll over, if it can continue its strength on through. Had earnings, and it actually beat its earnings, but it may have some other issues as far as the guidances and all that other stuff is concerned. But currently, got a dividend coming up on the 12th of February. All right. So it may be putting some money together to pay out the dividend. We'll see. But currently it's in a bear market, so keep an eye on T-Tech. Next up, Texas Roadhouse, and Texas Roadhouse is always good, if you know what I mean. Running into some resistance at 184, consolidating though between the moving averages and the 184 area. So let's see what happens. Got an earnings coming up on Texas Roadhouse on the 20th of February. Maybe a catalyst to take us higher. Putting in a nice little fry pan bottom also. So keep an eye on that. We may be consolidating to take off, or some people like to call it a bowl pattern or whatever you want to call it. But at any rate, we're coming down, we're going flat. We come up and put in our handle and continue higher for our fry pan bottom. All right, so that's Texas Roadhouse, and this might be a good area to sit on a little bit of it. All right, but you do you. I'm just making an observation, and it's not a suggestion to buy, hold, or sell anything. What you decide to do is on you. All right, but just letting you know. All right, This is setting up to be a nice move higher. We'll see what happens. Okay, that's Texas Roadhouse. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Next up is UAL, United Airlines, and United Airlines has always been a good one. They got a window opened up down here at around $84. It needs to be reconciled, so keep an eye on United Airlines. Ran to $116 and then pull back, 2-bar pullback, but now we can only get back up halfway between those that 2-bar move. So we need to get above this 110.62 area to retest that 116 and see what happens. If we hit it and sell off, it's going to be a hard sell. So look for it to pull back down into here somewhere, or down here to close that window. Alright, so that's American Airlines, and starting to show some weakness. Next up is Veristem, VSTM, and Veristem, it's in the healthcare area, so shouldn't be affected by the biotech stocks, but it may be, because of this red bar here is the same red bar I think I saw back on Lebu. Yeah, so it may be affected by it, but look for some support here coming up real soon. Alright, and it may be here where we're at $6, and then continue higher once we consolidate in here and confirm the support. But the big problem is down here where it opened up this huge window. Alright. Alright, so that's Veristem. This is a support area, but not really that great. But we'll see what happens. We haven't retested it again. We just kind of blew right through it. Did come down into here, but it's more down here at around $5 than up here. So really, I think this should be down around $5. Okay, so that is Veristem. And the last one on our list, Wingstop. And Wingstop was a mover for a while, and now it's starting to look like a loser. It went from a mover to a loser. But it was moving, boy. Boom, look at that. Did a little double top and sold off. In case you missed it. That's Wingstop. Runner. Look at that bad boy. Ooh-wee. Nobody even noticed it. It was just going, doing its thing. Behind the scenes. Had a big window gap down here. Didn't quite reconcile. It got closed. Bounced down, came up. Almost reconciled. It may have closed it. I don't know. But it looks kind of like it didn't. And now it's down here in the looking bearish. Alright, so keep an eye on Wingstop's got its earnings coming up. Got our moving averages rolling over. So we may be going up. 1, 2, 3, 4, down. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whatever. You know, you get the picture. Alright. So we need to find a bottom on Wingstop so we can go back up higher. And currently our bottom is 266.45. Alright. or 271. All right, next up. Oh wait, there is no next up. That is it. Whew, man, we made it to the end, y'all. Was that something, or what? Was that quite some time it took us to get through all that? That was a lot. That was a lot. If there's anything that I didn't catch, let me know, and I'll try to add it for you for the long term. If there's something you want me to just go over, let me know, and I'll add it just to, or if there's a particular topic you just want to talk about, let me know. But yeah, that's it. We ran it down. Hope you got some good information out of there. Hope you liked, subscribed, and hit the notification bell for the next one. And yeah, so that's it. There's some good information coming soon with a lot of these. Keep an eye this week. There's going to be quite a few earnings for these good major stocks coming up. So mostly starting on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. All right, this week. So be careful out there. These markets are crazy.